Alright, Bay Bears, it's Blake again, and today we're going to be talking about time travel, Bielek, the Philadelphia experiment, and a little bit of everything. So let's get going, guys. Now, when I first think about time travel, I think of the movie Back to the Future. You know, it's one of my personal favorites. There's so many lines. Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? McFly, you bozo! Those boards don't work on water. Not unless you've got power. But anyways, here's another picture. That's Elijah Wood down there. If you want to know. Ark's a good one. It's on Netflix. There's the 12 Monkeys and Bruce Willis and this 12 Monkeys TV show. It's pretty good. And then, of course, this one. And if we're talking about Keanu Reeves, there's the theory that he's a immortal time-traveling vampire or something. You know, look at these pictures they found. And they have other ones out there, too. They got one here of Nicolas Cage. You know, it looks pretty goofy. They found these pictures of, celebrities. There's Alec Baldwin. You know, it's pretty crazy. And there's like black and white photos that they found of, who they think is time traveler. Is that dude sitting on the rock? He looks kind of out of place. And then there's this woman, walking, talking on the phone. And then this hipster guy, they caught these crazy sunglasses. This is my favorite. I really just want to go into all these different perspectives before I get into Al Bielek here, and of possibilities for time travel. These ancient technology, of course, that found, and I don't know, could these be ancient time travelers way back then that came and changed time and affected it somehow? There's this glyph here. The Greek woman looks like she's looking at a laptop, and there's USB ports, and there's pictures on the wall in Egypt and about the Anunnaki and stories and all kinds of crazy stuff. These guys, it always looks like they're holding a bucket, a pail, and then they've got some kind of they're holding some type of device, or it looks like a acorn, some say. But you zoom in here closer, and I'm looking at his watch. I'm like, what's that? It looks like a time device. And here's another picture. We go closer into it, and it's like, yeah, it's like a little Rolex, little timepiece. I started looking around, and I found this Indian wheel that they created. I thought it looked pretty similar, and here's a close-up version of it. There's so much detail in these things. It's really amazing. There's the Mayan calendar here. Another wheel, kind of looks like that watch that we saw. And then here is just a closer version. Looks like this is some kind of gold. And then I'm looking at other calendars and clocks. There's the Chinese zodiac, the snake. You know what I'm saying? There's the astrology calendar. I think we're in the Water Bear Aquarius right now, but it's all something to look at. This is the Hadrian Collider, and is this their attempts to recreate it current days and create some kind of time vehicle vessel where we can go through it? Or who knows about that? We're gonna start getting started here, guys. There's been claims from a lot of different people, especially in the alien community, where they've been abducted by aliens and said that they've had technology that took them back in time, and they were able to go through dimensions and portals and all sorts of stuff. And I'll probably get to different people in different interviews later about the different kinds of aliens and everything later, but we're gonna get going with Al Bielek here. So Al's a pretty cool guy. I've linked some of his videos down below. The gist of his story, from what I got, he wasn't Al Bielek originally. He was first Edward Cameron, and his brother Duncan Cameron. Their dad had pretty good military connections growing up and knew all the right people and put them all through the right schools, and he went to Princeton and got all his PhDs, and he was working on these secret projects for the government. He talks about doing a project for them on invisibility. He wanted to make the ships invisible for radar for the German submarines. So they started working on project with Nikola Tesla and developing this, and so what they basically made was some kind of machine that created energy fields to cancel the reflection of the light, so it would make an object invisible, or make the boat invisible. Al said that Tesla was the original director of the project, and it was going around and they were about to do their first test, but the equipment malfunctioned, and they said that Tesla, sabotaged the mission because he feared of what would have happened if they turned it on. Whoa, wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that this sucker is nuclear? So the government got somebody else, Dr. John Van Norman, I believe, to finish the project, and they turned it on, and it was a success. And then they did another project later on with demonstrations and stuff, and the ship, they turned it on, the ship disappeared for a recorded 4 hours. From what I got when he explained it, how it works, they interlock these different energy fields to access the time field. He said to picture time field as a donut shaped, and it's a closed loop. There's no beginning, no end, and it's forever. So they turn the machine on, and he gets forward projected through time, and he goes from 1943 to what he thought 1983 instantaneously. So here we go, boys. So when he shows up to 1983, he's on a military base. They're waiting for him. It's Dr. Van Norman, the guy who did the experiments in 43. They're waiting for him. So they get him. They already have time travel invented and constructed by then. They send him back through the wall, so he goes back to 1943, and they said it's creating some kind of time distortion field, and you gotta destroy the equipment. So they eventually kill the equipment, and they come back on board, and they see people in the walls, and they don't know what's going on, what happened, and so far as they just saw the thing disappear for 4 hours and come back to this. So okay, what happened here? What happened? And he's saying he time traveled, but that's not even the half of it. He talks about various other things like Operation Moongate, something to do with the moon and the Apollo missions. He talks about the Montauk project, where they're pretty much mind controlling people, and he goes into that. There's a picture of the Stranger Things kid. It's pretty much what they're doing. They're abducting children and conducting experiments and trying to control their minds, and the LSD projects and all that darkness that they're doing. And today they're getting behind pedophile cases that they're unraveling, and people are being protected, and all these deep CIA projects that they're not letting out. He also makes reference that these people are being used for assassinations and spies and women as sex slaves, and that he says look at the school shootings, and he says probably I'm thinking Sandy Hook or the Pizzagate, or all that mess that we should be looking at. He has very different photos, and I have links to his video down below, but he shows this photo and he says this dude circled is an alien, which is interesting because Phil Snyder also said the same thing. He worked for U.S. government and contracts working for underground tunnels, and said he saw aliens down there, and goes into a big story, and he was given a tour about it, and assassination attempts on his life, and he was talking about it, saying locations, and he wound up found dead. They said it was a suicide, but it was murder. He had rope wrapped around his neck. But there's the guy they're both talking about. I think they said his name was Thor, the god alien from Venus, but we should look into that. Al said that he remembered these memories later because they were wiped from him, and he memory recalled them, and where he actually transferred to the year 2137. Before he went to 1983, he went to 2137, and he found these, people there. So when he first jumped off the bridge of the USS Elbridge, he went to the time portal and went to the year 2137. And jumping through hyperspace without wearing any material left his body severely damaged. So he was in this hospital in 2137. They had high technology like light and healing practices, crystals, vibrations, I'm saying. And he's watching the TV, and it's like it's like pretty much a learning channel. And they're saying that between 2000 and 2025 there was this huge World War III, and Earth changes, and the planet completely changed, and there's a new map. Here's a map what he thinks the world is going to look like. Houston's gone, Louisiana's gone, Florida, California's gone. There's Mississippi. Here's the U.S. Navy map that they've made on fault lines, saying telling people where they should live, where safety is. People have been predicting war and destruction for a long time, and it's in prophecies. Edward Casey, Nostradamus, all those people about wars coming in North Korea, Russia, China, that among us, things to think about. But anyways, he went through time. Now again, they sent him, or I think he got pulled to this time. He didn't really know how he got there, so he was in 2137, and then he got pulled to 2749. To a high-tech civilization. There was no war, no armies, no religion. It was like completely peaceful, and he was pretty much like a tour guide around there. But he talks about some of the technology that they had, and weapons of systems, and that they had these tubes. Makes me think of the Futurama tubes that they had that teleported people around. I think, he said they called them accelerons. And it made me think of, the tubes from Futurama. But he basically said that these AI computer systems ran the entire city, and it's hooked up to the mainframe. So he goes in there and he talks to the AI computer. These are just pictures from, oh god, what's that movie? Chronicle. Amazing, but pretty sweet. So he talks to this like crystal form AI computer, and he wants to know who made him. And they said that these people outside, he finds out from, I guess, somebody else, that these people outside called the Wing Makers made him. So he goes in and he talks to them, and it's pretty much these people. It's not this dude, but he talks to them, and they pretty much said, they created the AI system in 2400 or something, and it's pretty much like socialism, and everyone gets what they want. It made me think of The Fringe, the observers from the future that kind of watch and monitor time, and they're in and out of special, occasions at time. Very, very cool TV show if you haven't checked it out. Anyways, he talks to them, and they say, we pulled you here because there's a time anomaly that you created back in 1943, and you have to go there and destroy the equipment. And he's lived there for like 3 years. He said, I don't know what you're talking about, because wiped his memory, and he doesn't want to leave, and they teleport him there anyway. So he goes back to 1983, from what I previously talked about, and they sort him out there, and then they send him back to 1943. So here's the basic timeline of his travel. He was in 1943. Traveled over onto 2137, where they helped him medically, and then he got pulled to 2749 by the Wing Makers, lived there for a little bit, traveled back to 1983, where we already had the technology and created it. Then they transferred him back to 1943, and they destroyed the equipment, destroying that loop, possibly creating an alternate future, an alternate reality, in which he goes into saying that he was originally Edward Cameron, and then he went back in time and they wiped his memory and changed him into Al Bielek, or they gave him false memories or something else. It's a little wild, it's a little crazy. I suggest you go look at it. I put a link down there below to some of his videos. And I'm not sure what I believe. I definitely believe it's very interesting. I don't know. I like Phil Snyder. I believe him. And if this guy's, relating to Phil at all, I put Phil's video down there. You guys should go check him out as well. And that'll do it. It's been a fun video, Bay Bears. I hope you enjoy it. So I hope I'm going to be making a lot more. Later, guys.